It is an honor and a privilege to be here this afternoon, to be sitting next to the beautiful Naphtalie Variste.
Welcome to Grace in It podcast, where we walk with purpose and grace.
My name is Waldine, and I will be the host for this evening's podcast. And I would love for you to introduce yourself, though I've already said your name, but can you give us an introduction of who you are, where you come from, and what brought you here today?
Hello, everyone. That is an excellent question. Like she mentioned, my name is Naphtalie Variste. Was born in Haiti, born and raised in Haiti, and I've been living here in the States for 16 years. I am a follower of Christ, and I love people. I am a mother. I am a sister. I am a wife, like a lot of us moms. And professionally, I'm a nurse by profession. I have a master's degree as a nurse practitioner. And how did I get to this moment? So, growing up, I've always loved writing. I'm one of those kids who used to have a personal journal, like where I will write, my everyday experiences and stuff like that. But, as you grow up, you go to college and you are chasing your dreams. Sometimes those passions, they go to the back burner. So for a while, I didn't write, and when I did write, it was for assignments and stuff like that. Not knowing that giving birth to my son, funny enough, was what was gonna bring me back to that passion. So after I had him, I realized raising him and becoming the mother that God wanted me to be, which I'm still working on, it requires a lot of grace. And that's how my first book was birthed. And then now we're going to talk about my second book.
Your book title is called Unheard. What does the title mean to you?
The title means to me the fact that the day that I walked into those hospital walls and I was ready for that amazing birth experience, which was not what it was. I was just felt like I was silenced. There was things that I wanted, the things I was saying, people were not paying attention to. So Unheard really described that experience.
I know that we've heard stories, but why is it that this topic right now is important for people to hear?
I've seen stories similar to mine, right? On social media, you've heard it in our communities and stuff, not knowing that that would be my story. So what I've come to realize is, even though I have like a background in healthcare, it really did not matter, right? So the disparities when it comes to maternal health, having gone through that made me realize it can happen to anyone. It doesn't have respect to social status, position, or anything. The fact that I was just a woman of color really made people think that what I was saying was not important.
And how are you feeling in that moment? Like when you walked in and saying that you needed help, but you felt helpless.
Very discouraged, and you always think like, okay, you're going in thinking that I can advocate for myself, and I had people there advocating with me as well. But when you are going through the pain of labor, and this was my first birth experience, and to top it off, it was the first time I was in the hospital. Let's start with that. I've never been hospitalized before, so going through the pain, I was nauseous. So all of that, that alone kind of takes away that sense of empowerment that you want to have. And then adding the fact that you kept repeating things over and over, I just felt like I did not matter.
Wow. And you hear it from her, right? That being in a position where you feel unheard, not having someone to back you up, or knowing that you have to advocate for your own self. So that must have been truly traumatic.
It was. And personally, I feel like that disparity thing that we're talking about, it's a worldwide thing, you know. I feel like every mom, regardless of what your background is, you know, every single one of us is entitled to that compassionate care, right? Being a nurse, I can tell you that it's not something as a healthcare provider that I take for granted. We have to realize that when people come to us and to deliver care to them, it's a privilege, it's an honor, and we should do the best that we can to
Mhm.
give them that.
Of course. I love the book, by the way. So as I was going through the chapters, and one of the chapters that captivated my eyes was the chapter where you wrote expectation versus reality.
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of dive us in as what were your expectation and what was the true reality as you walked into the hospital?
So, you know, prior to giving birth, we did what we thought was the right thing to do, right? We took a hospital tour. We processed, you know, insurance details. Everything looked great. We left that day and we're like, oh my God, we chose the right place. And then going in was completely a totally different experience. You know, from the time I walked in, I described what I was feeling. I described what I thought was going on. And the answer is no. Instead, we're going to do this. So, yeah.
That must have been like a shock
Mm-hmm.
for you because knowing that you're prepared. And in reality, as moms, right, we're ready to give birth. And it's like, okay, well, let me get everything ready. I want to be on point. And if you've gone to nursing school and you know what you had to do to prepare for all exams, so you came in ready and saying that, hey, what happened? What happened? And how are you feeling in that moment? How was your husband feeling in that moment, knowing that you guys prepared for everything and everything changed suddenly?
So, you know, when things start spiraling out of your control as humans, right? The first thing that comes to you is fear, right? You're like, oh my God, like this is not what I expected. Things are not going well at all. And I'm still trying to, you know, I'm laboring. I have this child that I cannot wait to meet, but I don't feel like this is the right environment for that. So, us being Christians, really, really help us because when that fear started coming in, we turn to God because He is the source of our strength. And when we cannot control things, He is a God that is over everything. So, we had worship music playing in the background, like we were praying and just surrendering everything that was going on, knowing that even though we had a little say in how things were being handled, God will have the final say.
Amen. Amen. So I want to get down to the nitty gritty of the podcast, right? So can you kind of guide us into from the time that you guys came from the in the hospital and everything started looking crazy? Can you guide me from that time until the time that you were placed in the delivery room?
So, I mean, we walked in, I explained to them, you know, when my water broke and stuff like that, they put us in the room. But like, I don't want to spill too much because I do want people to get the book, but I explained to them what exactly was my concern, and I asked for something to be done to confirm whether what I was experiences was true or not, right? And that was not done. And instead, you know, I went through 8 hours of labor and everything just to come to the conclusion that what I was feeling and what we were advocating for was exactly what the situation was. So saying that is, I didn't have to go through all of that stuff that I went through. As soon as I walked through the door, if that simple thing that I'd mentioned was taken into consideration, I would have had my baby right then and there, and his life wouldn't have been put in danger like it was. So.
Wow. Wow. I know that we don't want to go ahead and talk about everything that's in the book because I need you guys to purchase the book. And so we're just going to cover a few topics. So one of the topics that you mentioned in the book was the battle between fear and faith. And how did that look like in real time? Because I'm pretty sure after all that has been set up, now it was time for you to actually have the baby. So can you dive us with that?
Well, if you are a woman who has gone through labor, fear has very different aspects to it, right? You are going through contractions, you know the moment is gonna get there, but you don't know exactly how things are going to unfold. That alone is something to think about. I have very low tolerance for pain, but walking into the hospital, I was open. I was like, whether my son comes into this world naturally or through a C-section, it doesn't matter. I just want to have a healthy delivery and a healthy baby. But, there was that fear about, I don't know what to expect as a first time mom. And then seeing how things were being addressed or not addressed, for a better word, being overlooked, I think that added more to the anxiety. I've seen people's story of delivery as being so great, so empowering, and that's what I wanted. Of course, we know with labor and delivery, complications can happen, right? But at the same time, I just felt like I didn't get to soak in every moment of my delivery because I spent most of the time just worrying and trying to advocate for something that was just being disregarded. So that was the fear portion. And the faith portion is when I was like, oh God, well, you gave me this baby and I have to trust that what you started, you will finish. I'm already here. This is the moment. So just take control.
What was going through your mind during that time? I can imagine, like,
I was frustrated, to say the least, and people could tell. Even those around me could tell that I was just like, "Are you serious?" Like I'm somebody, I cannot hide my how I feel. Like my face
your
is,
face expression is gonna show it all.
I was like, "Are you kidding me?" kind of a thing. I was like, and there was a point they kept checking how advanced I was in terms of dilating, and I started bleeding, and I said, "That's enough." I said, "Nobody else is touching me at this point." I said, I'm done." Yeah, and for me, like my blood pressure was really normal the entire time, and I was so stressed out and so frustrated. By the time I got into the operating room, my systolic blood pressure, which is the top number of your blood pressure, was in the 140s.
Wow.
And that's really unusual for me. So that alone tells you my body was saying that I was upset.
I'm not a mother yet, so I cannot even tell you that I understand what you're saying, but knowing that, having you here sitting next to me and talking about that, and I'm sure many other women, many other mothers, I probably have gone to worse, right? And we thank God that regardless of what happened to you, you're still here and you're able to hold your baby. It's a boy, by the way.
Yes.
The famous Abe. So you're able to hold your son, and many mothers didn't have the chance to do so, right? Either the mother passed or the child passed. Your story reflects a larger issue, right? And it's not only affecting some people, and the focus was how also it's affecting the African Americans, right? Mothers. So what are Black women facing in maternal health care today? Hence, you worked in a hospital. So what are they facing today compared to what you faced? What do you think they are facing today?
So having gone through what I've gone through, I realized this is deeper than what people see on social media and stuff like that. And it's not just a matter of delivering the baby. It comes to the entire pregnancy process, right? From the day you find out you are pregnant, because you need that maternal care. So having gone through what I've gone through, and with the little knowledge, because even though I'm in healthcare, like labor and delivery is not my specialty, but at least I had a background knowledge in that area. So even with that, I felt powerless. So it made me reflect on, what about the women out there who have no clue, about what exactly, what kind of help, what kind of care that they need, like what is happening to them? Are they being really taken care of the way they need to? Are they receiving the care that they deserve, right? Because we all deserve excellent care. So that's what came to my mind. And like you said, when I went through that experience, I'm like, wow, at least I get to walk out with my baby. But what
Mm-hmm.
about those mothers who don't have that same opportunity? Or what about a family who has to walk out with the baby without the mom? Like I said, yes, labor and delivery comes with complications sometimes that we cannot avoid, right? But my thing is giving women that voice to speak up and letting feel like, oh, what you are saying needs me, as a healthcare provider, that I need to follow up and see how I can help you and kind of ease what's in your mind and what you're thinking. So I feel like that's the part that's sometimes missing, that concern, that taking into consideration, hey, maybe I need to look into this because our bodies is ours. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Somebody from the outside looking in cannot really know exactly what we are feeling. And I feel like as mothers, we have that instinct in us that we know that we know. So when you have that feeling and you're saying, hey, I think you should look into that, instead of saying, no, we're doing this instead.
Mm-hmm.
The part that is missing is, okay, I see that this is a concern for you. Let me see how I can, look into that. And maybe it's nothing, but what if it is something?
That's so true. That's so true. And as we were talking, and I wanted to also do some research on
Mm-hmm.
comparing
Mm-hmm.
African American women to Caucasian women.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was reading, it says that Black women in the US are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy related causes than white women, with a mortality rate of 50.3 deaths per 100 live birth, compared to 14.5
Mm-hmm.
white women. Over 80 of these deaths are preventable with disparities driven by systematic racism, bias, and underlying chronic condition rather than education and income. What what do you think is the cause of that? Yes, we talk about racism, but in looking at the statistics,
Mm-hmm.
50
Yeah,
compared to 14.
that's a big gap. And
That is a big gap.
that alone should tell us that something is wrong and that we need to do something. And writing my book, it was not just the goal wasn't just to tell my story, but to also bring awareness, right?
Mhm.
Even though I didn't include statistics in it because all you just looked it up. So it doesn't take much. That information is out there.
Mhm.
But the question is, what are we going to do about it?
That was going to be my next question.
What are we going to do about it? So, included in my book, I have some organizations that are out there that are trying to bring about change to address the very thing that you just mentioned with what
Mhm.
you just read. So, I think it needs an effort of everyone, right? From community partners, stakeholders, whatever role that you occupy in the healthcare system. I feel like we all just need to come together and really realize like this is a problem and how can we all in our specific role do something to make it better, right? Because we're all humans. We all got children and we all deserve that opportunity to feel heard, to feel understood, to feel taken care of. So I think really what needs to happen is true advocacy. We talk
Mhm.
about advocacy all the time, but are we really advocating?
Mhm.
So a really collaborative approach, and that way we can address that problem.
Okay. Well, I have the last two questions for you. The first question that I would like to ask you, what would you say to the mothers who didn't have the opportunity to walk
Mm.
out of the living room with their child?
Hmm. That's a very,
Deep question, I know.
yeah. I I would say, even though I experience what the Black maternal health disparity, some part of it, but I cannot truly understand, what it must feel like, having nurtured a baby. Because I know when I was pregnant, you feeling the kicks, you know what I mean? You seeing ultrasound, you seeing your baby forming, and you already have that bond with your child, even before they're born. So I cannot imagine the pain that you are feeling, having, gone through all of that, all of those months of waiting and anticipating just for you to walk out without your baby. But I would say that I love you and God's love you. And I know we live in a society where we are not given the time to really grieve. Like everything is so rushed. I just want to say, take your time to feel what you're feeling. It's okay. What you're going through was traumatic, and it's okay to feel pain. But I just hope at the end of the day, at some point, you will find the light and that you will find joy again and you will find meaning and purpose in life again. As a Christian, I think we find comfort in knowing that through everything that we go through, God is always with us. So I just pray that you will feel His comforting arms around you. I pray that you have a supportive system around you. Yeah, and I send you a lot of love. I know this is difficult.
I can imagine. And the last question that I have for you, what advice would you give to someone who's currently pregnant? And what should they expect when to get, what are some, I would say, some points that you would give them as they go into the delivery room, like steps that you took that kind of helped you out. So what advice would you give to them?
Well, telling my story is not meant to scare people out there. So I will start with that, right? Just because I've gone through what I've went through and there are other women out there who probably experience the same thing, I don't want somebody who's pregnant now to go into labor or into the hospital ready to deliver with fear. I want you to go in with the word of God. Let's start with that. And as bad as my experience was, I had some amazing healthcare providers that came around that took care of me and my baby. So it was not all bad, but the overall thing was traumatic for sure. So I would say do not go in there fearful, but have your eyes and ears open. And I know firsthand when you are laboring, there is a lot of stuff that you may miss. So go in there with someone, somebody you trust, somebody you think can be a voice for you if you cannot speak, somebody who can advocate for what you will want to do. You know what I mean? Somebody who can push people out of their comfort zone when you know something is wrong and they want you shut you down. So definitely do not go in there fearful and prepare yourself. Make sure you have somebody with you and be ready to fight for what you need and for what you deserve.
Awesome. Well, it was a wonderful time that we had the opportunity to not only talk about your book, your experiences, and also advising and going over the statistics that Black African American experience during childbirth. I just want to go ahead and grab the book real quick. So I want to tell you guys that the book is available on Amazon. So I want you, as you are watching this podcast, I need you to open your screen, double side view, go on Amazon and type Naphtalie Variste and order the book, purchase the book. Okay. The book is available. It is a wonderful story. It is not here for you to fear, but it gives you her experience as to what happened as she was in labor and delivery. So any last word that you would like to add, my dear?
I want to say, so I wrote this book out of a lot of discomfort. I know I spoke to Waldine before. I was like, I don't know if I should write this book or not because it's so personal. It's my birth story, you know what I mean? So I'm putting that out there. So like she said, and like we've talked about throughout this podcast, this book is not meant to instill fear. It's meant to bring awareness, really. And awareness how on what's going on when it comes to Black maternal health. And my hope and my dream is that one day, you know, the healthcare system worldwide, like we would not have to deal with things that can be avoided. So like Waldine, when she read the statistics before, those consequences are not what we talk about that in terms of complication. Those are things that we can actually prevent. So how do we make sure that if this is something we can prevent, that we actually prevent it from happening? So yeah, I really pray that it will be a blessing. And as a Christian, of course, I put God in there, because if it wasn't for him, my son would not be here today. So I just hope that, and if you are a mom or a family who have experienced loss because of that very topic we are discussing, Black disparity, maternal health disparity, that it will bring you comfort and that it will give you hope, and that, you will find some source of consolation with what you went through.
Okay, so how can people get connected to you?
That is a really great question. So I am on all social media platforms. So you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and I also have a YouTube page from where you are watching this podcast. So please make sure to follow me. Naphtalie Variste is the name on all the platforms as I step boldly into what God is calling me to do. There's more in store. So follow along.
All right, well, there you have it, guys. Follow Miss Naphtalie Variste, and see you guys in the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Hello, everyone. Naphtalie Variste. You just watched Grace to be Heard. It's an episode of my podcast, Grace in It Podcast, where we just discussed my second book, Unheard, where I dive into my birthing story and touch base on the Black maternal health disparities. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys can subscribe to the channel. Welcome to the Grace for Moms movement.